The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Carly Reisner with the Oracle Applications Users Group. Welcome to this session of how to improve your chances of being selected to speak at Collaborate 15. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a couple housekeeping items. You will be on mute throughout the presentation. You can type your questions into the question box in your control panel or raise your hand icon, and I will unmute you. We are recording this session, and it will be available online shortly. And now I'd like for you to meet your experts. First, we have Melissa Sider.
Thanks, Carly. Hi, I'm Melissa Sider. We'll be introducing ourselves momentarily here, but I'd like to welcome Kaberi Lakshmi, and we do have a special guest with us today, Melissa English, who is our OAUG President-elect for 2015, has also been able to join us today. So welcome to them, and we'll be introducing ourselves in just a minute. I'd first like to go over the agenda. So we'll be talking a little bit about who we are and our credentials and why we are qualified to speak on this particular topic. Then we'll spend some time going over the conference selection process in detail and look at the process that OAUG specifically uses to solicit, vote on, and select papers for the Collaborate conference every year. We'll also then go into some tips and tricks for paper selection, and then we'll open it up for panel discussion. And we may actually pop out of the PowerPoint presentation and go over to a browser and actually show you where some of the resources can be located on the OAUG page. So in regards to introductions, again, my name is Melissa Sider. I'm the conference chair for Collaborate 2015. I have been a past agenda chair in 2011, 12, and 13, and I'm an active member of the Education Committee and have been for a number of years. My background is in training and development, and I live in Breathe Education. Kaberi, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yep. Thank you, Melissa. Hi, everyone. My name is Kaberi Nayak. Thanks for joining us today for this informative webinar, and we hope you can take back some tidbits that will help you and encourage paper submission for Collaborate 2015 conference. As you can see, I'm the agenda chair for Collaborate 13, 14, and now 15. I was also the past OAUG board member, and I've been on the education committee for a few years. In this year, happened to be the education committee chair. I do work in different committees within OAUG as volunteer. I'm an Oracle ACE, and I have presented at many of these conferences, Collaborate, Open World, Connection Point. So I think we can give you some tips and give the details of the process, how the papers selection is done. And anytime you have any questions,
thank you so much, Kaberi. Lakshmi, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lakshmi Sampath. I am the agenda chair for the Collaborate 15. I'm also in the education committee, and I've presented close to 50 plus presentations, and I've been speaking since 2000 in my main conferences, OAUG conference. I've been an Oracle Application User Group user and presenter, panelist, and moderator for the for the past several years, and I'm on Oracle ACE, and hopefully we can give you some tips and tricks, and thank you for joining this presentation.
Great, thank you. And then special guest, Melissa English, would you like to take a minute and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Melissa. This is Melissa English, and I've been involved with the OAUG for nearly 20 years now. Most recently, I've spent 5+ years on the Education Committee and have been a board member for going into my 4th year. And last year, I was the co-agenda chair for the conference and president-elect in 2014. So I'm really looking forward to having more and more user involvement, and hopefully this presentation will help you get more involved.
All right, thanks everybody, and thanks everyone for being here. You really have, collectively, this team has a lot of years of experience in the paper selection process, specifically for Oracle Application User Group, the OAUG. Before we get into the details of our recommendations, I would like to spend a few minutes talking about the paper selection process. Over the past couple of years, there's been more demand by users in the community to have visibility into exactly how this process works. And part of our purpose here is to demystify this process for everyone so that people understand exactly how the process works, how it is a democratic process, and how you can become involved in that process as well. So generally about 9 months before the conference, we work to finalize the tracks, and there is a group called the SEC, which is made up of members of OAUG, Quest, and IOUG. These are the three groups that put on Collaborate every year. So there is a collaboration between these three groups to identify what our collective tracks will be. All three groups use the same tracks to identify their papers. Once we have the tracks finalized, we create wish lists. And basically a wish list is just like what it sounds. It's a list of items that we'd like to see delivered at the next event. So topic ideas, specific application functionality, technical topics, pretty much anything that we know is in demand or people want to see, we add to the wish list. And the wish list is there to help individuals such as yourselves go in and spark ideas about the types of papers that you might submit to the conference. About 8 months before the conference, we open the call for papers, and that process is currently underway. The paper call is open until October 10th, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. We've also just completed our process to solicit voter names. Our paper voters were pulled from our entire user-based community. Multiple emails and broadcasts and informational solicitations went out to our entire user base asking for people to sign up to vote on OAUG papers. We did get a great response. We have 145 voters this year, which is almost double the amount of voters we had last year. So we're very pleased by the results of this open voter registration. At the same time, individuals, users, OAUG members are in the process of submitting their paper titles and abstracts. This process is done through the OAUG website, and again, many communications have gone out in regards to how to go ahead and submit your paper and to announce that the call is currently open. Our call for papers is scheduled to close on October 10th, and that is a hard close. So that means if your paper is not in the database by the end of the day on Friday, October 10th, your paper cannot be considered for the conference. Once the papers are all submitted, and quite honestly, most of them are submitted in the last 24 to 48 hours, we perform what we call track authentication. And that is we try to go in, we usually get anywhere from 1,200 to 1,600 papers submitted to the engine. And a small team of individuals consisting of the agenda co-chairs typically go in to make sure that each paper is put in its correct track and that people have self-categorized their papers correctly. This is important because when we do our voting and we do our paper selection, it's all done based on papers that are submitted in a particular track. And if your paper is put into the wrong track, it may not be considered during the selection process. And so it's very important that we go through and ensure that papers are put into the track that is most likely to apply to that particular topic. We deliver the voter credentials. Voters are to be notified on October 3rd, and then voting opens. And right now, voting is scheduled to occur from Friday, October 17th to Monday, October 27th. The voting process is blind, which means that voters can only see the title, abstract, and objectives of the paper. They cannot see the name of the person who submitted it, nor can they see the company that the person works for. That way, we ensure that our voting process is very democratic, and people are voting on the content, not on the person. Once the voting is completed, we work internally with a group of experts to build the tracks. And how this works is that representative members of the Education Committee act as track leads. There's one lead for each track. Those Education Committee members reach out to the GEO leaders and SIG leaders that map to their tracks. So for example, if we have a GEO for accounts payable, a SIG, a special interest group for accounts payable, the financials track lead would reach out to the accounts payable leader, accounts payable SIG leader, and invite them to participate in reviewing and selecting and slating the papers into an actual schedule. In this way, we involve leaders in all areas of OAUG in the paper selection process. So it's not just one person who's picking all the papers for a particular track. It is a team or a group of people always picking every agenda. Also, the votes that were done during the voting process figure very heavily into the process, because as we run our reports to build the rooms, many of them, all the reports, are based on the collective vote that was given to each paper. So papers with a higher vote are considered more heavily than papers with a lower vote. Once that happens and we build our rooms, then we are able to finalize the agenda, and about 5 months before the event, we are able to notify the speakers. I believe speakers are due to be notified in late November this year. After that point in time, speakers will sign a compliance agreement indicating their willingness to participate in the event. We finalize the schedule about 8 weeks prior to the event and open up the agenda builder. And then the presenters are asked to submit excuse me, their white papers and their presentations in order to obtain their free conference pass. If you do have a paper selected as the primary presenter to Collaborate 15, as the presenter, the primary presenter, you will receive a free conference pass. This does not cover your travel costs, however, so you are still responsible for travel costs. But we will pay for your full conference registration, and you would be able to attend and participate in all conference-related activities. And then finally, we have an expectation that individuals will deliver their papers at Collaborate. We do look at and track year over year the performance of our instructors. So as people complete a session, they're asked to complete a session evaluation. All of those evaluation reports are given back to the presenter so that they can see how they did, and any feedback that we receive is also followed up on. And we do have some compliance and regulatory. Every year there's 1 or 2 people who don't show up for their presentations, and we do have a policy and we do take action in regards to those types of behaviors. So we want to make very sure that if we're providing you with a full conference registration, that you're holding up your end of the bargain and you're actually delivering your paper. Because after all, it is Las Vegas. All right, so that is the overall paper selection process. And next I would like to move on to tips and tricks for paper selection. Kabiri, you want to chime in here with this slide?
Sure.
I think people are tired of hearing my voice.
No. Basically, the important thing that needs to be kept in mind is the idea. You need to have a solid idea that you think you can share with others. It can be anything. I mean, as simple as implementing, you know, any tax wizard or something like that. But make sure you look at the wish list, which basically gives you some idea about what are people looking for when they basically hot topic items, and submit early always, so that, you know, and you can also submit multiple papers, which is always good. If one doesn't get voted good enough, something else might. That's, your chances are much higher that way. And some tips for the title: always use some catchy words. You can, you know, reach out to us with your title to get some feedback, inputs. We can help in that respect. And proofread for grammar counts, and that will help too, because if a title has, you know, grammatical mistakes, it's definitely not going to catch anybody's eyes when they're voting. And if you're a consultant working with a user company, make sure you can co-present with your user company. Make them, you know, the primary presenter. Help them in writing the presentation with the experience you had gained together.
Right, I'd just like to clarify that submitting early and submitting often doesn't mean that you submit the same abstract over and over again. What we're looking here is for multiple paper ideas. People who are successful in getting their papers selected to the Collaborate event seldom submit just one paper. Like Kaveri said, if one paper idea doesn't appeal, another one may be much. So you can try a narrower view, a broader view of a similar topic or similar subject area. And the way that your abstract is written really helps to affect the vote as well as the selection process. And part of this is because as presenters, we do ask you to submit a white paper. If your abstract or title are very difficult to read or don't use proper grammar and punctuation, then we anticipate that your white paper also could be difficult to read. And so grammar counts very heavily in the process. Lisa or Lakshmi, anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I mean, one more thing comes to every customer's mind is like, you know, do I have enough information to cover in a white paper? I mean, so what we are looking for is, you know, your real situation where, you know, you are using an Oracle Applications product and you had a big breakdown, or, you know, like, for example, you did an upgrade and you performance tuned, or like something that is really one of the pain point in your implementations or upgrades, and we want you to actually think about it and submit it, and of course use these tips, but definitely that should you know, trigger you to go and submit it, because I think every single idea counts, and if you can share your success stories, or it will help a lot of people. So I mean, don't think that I don't have enough information, or, you know, I don't know if I can present, but we are there to help. That's where Melissa, Kaberi, Maggie, Lisa, everybody is there to help. So all of us are there to help.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lakshmi. I was going to add something similar, and that is, you know, basically you don't have to be an expert to be able to have a great topic and to be able to provide content that's informational and helpful to other people. So just bringing your experience, whatever level of it is, and sharing what you know is going to be helpful for many people, because there's still people out there who haven't gone through what you've gone through yet. And so any level of experience is welcome in the conference. And I really wanted to point out the wish list. So when I think it's important that you know that the wish list doesn't just come from the people in the education committee. You know, we go out to the SIGs and the GEOs and we ask them to ask their communities what the hot topics are. So those wish list items are actually coming from the user community. So that's what the people want to hear about. So if you're having a hard time coming up with a solid idea, definitely use the wish list, because that will draw attention if you have something that matches that list as your idea. So.
Okay, great. All very, very good input. One of the things that we're going to move into the open panel discussion now, but before we get started, I do want to evangelize a little bit about some of the things that we're trying to do for Collaborate 15. We are trying to involve more people in the process of voting and selection. We are trying to involve and engage more users in the user community. Over the past several years, there has been a trend that the number of papers submitted by actual users has really gone down and really only represents about 15% of the papers we receive. We're really making efforts this year and trying to encourage users and provide users with the tools that they need to come up with ideas and submit and present at the conference. And we'd really like to see that percentage increase for user-submitted papers. Also for Collaborate 15, we are introducing a couple of additional topic types, including serialized sessions, which will be, we've done these for a couple of years, but we're going to make them a little more prominent at the event, as well as we're looking into a way to do some deep dives and panels where we take a little bit more than the 45 to 50-minute presentation, and we actually go in to detail on a specific problem or business issue that people are experiencing around a particular product. This is to be fleshed out a little bit more as we approach the conference, but watch for information about those types of sessions at Collaborate 15. Now, these are all in direct response to users and attendees who are asking for variation in content and new ways to collaborate with each other and get information from each other. So I think part of this is because, you know, we really haven't had the user representation from a presentation perspective. People want to hear from other users like themselves. And that's really why we're doing this presentation today, why we are doing, Carly, remind me, when is our last Ask the Experts panel? Is that on October 8th?
It's October 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, October 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We are doing one last Ask the Experts panel. And basically, some of us, as well as some additional people, get on the line, and it's really designed to be a collaborative forum where you can call in and say, I have some ideas about a paper in this area. What do you think? And we will help you formulate your idea. If you're a user, we'll even help you edit your title and abstract. So I would encourage those of you who are interested in that to attend that session on October 6th. All right. I do actually want to do one additional thing, which I want to share with the audience where the resources are located on the OAUG page so that you can find them very easily. So I'm sure there are multiple ways to get to them, but if you come to the OAUG.org homepage, you'll see right at the bottom of your screen initially a link to Collaborate 15. If I click on this link, it's going to take me to a page that's completely devoted to the Collaborate 15 conference. This is where everything related to the conference can be found. You'll notice up at the top there is a menu, and this may look different if you're using a mobile device or have a reduced size screen. Sometimes there will be three little bars with a menu choice at the top that you can then open up the menu and scroll through it. But what we're primarily interested in here is the Present tab. So if I do go to the Present tab, I'll see that the call for presentations is now open. It'll give me information about submitting a proposal. This button is what I'm going to hit to actually submit my proposal. And there are other helpful resources listed here, including recordings of this particular session, as well as a list of the Ask the Experts panels that have been offered. Additionally, under the Present tab, this is where you can look at the wish list. This presentation topic wish list does have a table of contents at the beginning, so you can see the different tracks. Each one of these items listed along the left-hand column on the first page is a track for Collaborate 15. And within each track, we have identified the various papers that we're looking for. So, for example, under Application Strategy and Upgrades, we give a one-paragraph description about the types of papers that would fit into this particular track, and then we list out specific papers that we're looking for or seeking to deliver at the conference in this particular area. Right? And that is the same, and you'll see this document is 20 pages long, so we're looking for a lot of different things. All right. With that, then, I think, Carly, let's go ahead and open it up. Are there any questions?
We don't have any questions in yet. To our attendees, please feel free to type them into the question box in your control panel, or you can raise your hand and I will unmute you and you can speak directly with our experts.
Oh, I see also that Maggie Coleman has joined. Maggie is another one of our agenda co-chairs this year. Maggie, you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Maggie Coleman, and I've been with Oracle Applications since basically the conception. I've been with it since version 1, specialized in the supply chain, and I've been on the education committee now over 5 years.
All right. Well, thank you for serving as an agenda co-chair this year. It's great to have representation from the supply chain side.
Our first question is the voting blind?
So that's a good question, yes, and I'll just clarify what that means. So once again, during the voting process, we have 140-some people who will be going into our system to vote, and really the only things that they can see are the title and the contents of your abstract and your learning objectives that are submitted through the call for papers. They cannot see who the paper was written by or what company that person works for. So one thing that we can do to ensure that voting remains blind is to not necessarily include our company names or the names of our implementation partners in our abstract or in the title of our paper. Papers that do that tend to be not looked upon as favorably as papers that really you can't tell necessarily from the abstract or the title exactly who the customer is. Now, or who the organization is. Now, some exceptions to that would be specifically in regards to case studies, as Lakshmi suggested. So if there's a particular business problem that you faced and you're a user community, it's certainly okay to say, for example, I'm going to use Kaveri as an example, you know, MITRE Corporation, you might want to do like top 10 upgrade finds. You know, follow along with the Oracle ACE, as she describes the top 10 things she discovered when upgrading to applications version 12.2. That's acceptable. What we would not want to see, and I'll use myself here even though we didn't do this for Kaveri, but what we would not want to see is hear how AST Corporation helped MITRE to upgrade from, you know, version A to version B. We don't want to see that. But if MITRE wants to put their name in as a user community member, certainly people are receptive to that concept in a case study scenario. All right.
Thank you, Melissa. The next question is, how many people can present on one topic?
Okay, so that is a good question, and we do also always have a scenario where multiple people have submitted a similar topic. It depends. The answer is it depends on the group. So, for example, UPK is a part of the HR track, and we generally accept somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 papers on UPK. So what we would be looking for are 4 to 6 topics that really span the breadth of UPK functionality. So we might look for an introductory paper, an advanced paper, one that talks about using it for testing, one that talks about UPK Pro. So in general, you know, we would really only pick one paper per specific subject area for that particular topic. Now, in accounts payable, which is a much broader topic and where we schedule many more papers in the financials area, there may be papers that are of similar titles because both papers were voted on very highly during the process. So it really is up to the room build, the track build people, and the teams that are building those paper slots to determine how many of each type of paper they're going to slate to make sure that each room has a balance among things that people might want to learn about. I don't know, does anybody else want to add to that answer?
This is Lissa. So I will just mention that it is possible that more than one paper is selected around a very similar topic. However, it really depends on how hot that topic is that year. And so sometimes, you know, Oracle has just released a new piece of functionality in a particular area, or they have a new module, you know, something new technology-wise that nobody really knows about yet. Sometimes those areas will have more than one paper with a very similar description chosen for the conference. So like Melissa said, it really is going to depend on the folks that are building that room for that track to make the call on how they balance out the papers that are selected in that area.
Okay, thanks, Lissa. Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to just follow up with Lissa's comment. That is definitely good. At the same time, I mean, the topic could be like an upgrade to 12.2. Now, that saying that topic could have technical, you know, roadblocks during upgrade, tips and tricks that people, or a case study that a customer experienced. So even though both of them have the same topic, upgrading to 12.2, that's the, but the content on each one of them is different. So from the title and the abstract, we should be able to say, okay, this one tells what are the main steps or the checklist item for the upgrade, and the other one is a customer experience.
Okay, great. Carly, do we have any other questions?
Yes. Does my presentation need to be complete in order to apply? If not, what's required by October 10th?
All right. Lakshmi, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to have the presentation complete. All you need is an idea in your mind, and you know, if you can present that idea in a simple abstract, which is probably like 5-6 lines, and a nice title which covers your idea, that's all what is needed. And you know, if you have more information, like you want to cover, like for example, whether it's a case study or you know, tech tips and tricks or something, you can put it in the objective 1, 2, 3, 4, because you know, when we look at paper selection, we not only try to understand the idea from your abstract and the title, we also look at, does it cover fusion, or does it cover release 12.1.3, or you know, or maybe does it cover procurement, does it cover, you know, payables. We also look at your you know, all your objectives to make a full understanding of your idea. So
okay, very good. Thank you. Anybody else want to add to Lakshmi's response? I'd just like to say that it's never a good idea to actually go ahead and build your presentation until it's been accepted at a conference. So it's really just the idea that we require by October 10th. All right, Carly, any additional questions?
That's all we have for now.
Okay, great. Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to add before we wrap up? All right, well, very good. I would like to thank all of our presenters and panelists today for assisting us to answer these questions. We do hope that you found this session to be informative and that it's given you some ideas on how to proceed with submitting a paper to the conference. Again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at Collaborate 15.
Thank you, Melissa.
thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks to all our attendees for joining us. Again, please visit us on October 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for our next session of Ask the Experts. This concludes our session. Have a great afternoon.